welcome to the Experts on Mortgage podcast. I'm very appreciative for having Madeline Johnson join us today. And I think we'll just dive right into it. Thank you very much for joining the show. If you don't mind, can you give us some background on how you started your mortgage career?
Wow, I'd love to. So I love talking about mortgage banking and my career in mortgage banking. So my career actually started in a refi boom, not like the one we're in now, but one that happened in the late 80s. And while I was working and getting my MBA degree, I was looking for some type of employment in finance, and I was trying to use my international finance MBA that I was working on. I wanted to work at a multinational bank, but I ended up interviewing with a small family owned non-bank in Bethesda, Maryland. And at that job is where I learned about the CMB. And that was from my boss at the time. Really encouraged me to go to the School of Mortgage Banking 1, 2, and 3. So I moved very fast in my career after participating in the School of Mortgage Banking. I was running secondary marketing at a bank-owned mortgage company. Then I had a few consulting gigs, a couple of mortgage insurance companies, maybe a few GSEs sprinkled in there. And so feel like I've worked at or I've been a consultant in just about all of the mortgage process, pretty much a virtual 360 of mortgage banking. And so from that, I call myself the Forrest Gump of mortgage banking because it feels like I have pretty much done it all.
That's great. For those of you, or for those that don't know what the CMB designation is, can you kind of shed some light and describe, what is the CMB and what is the process of actually becoming a CMB?
Absolutely. Well, we are a whole industry of acronyms. So the CMB actually stands for the Certified Mortgage Banker. And so the CMB is the industry standard of professional services. It symbolizes respect, credibility, ethics, and achievement within real estate finance. It is the highest level of professional success and designation in the mortgage industry. And there's actually a lot of details on MBA's website, mba.org. But the first step in the process really is to apply. And then once you apply, there's a point audit, a recommendation letter you need to provide, a sponsor you need to find, which we will provide a list to you of available sponsors. Then there's a 6-part written exam and then an oral exam. But that's it, really. It does seem like a challenge. However, if you really think about it, all day long, you're doing mortgage banking and you're drawing upon all the knowledge to do your job. So the challenge and the productive outcome of all this is learning about the areas that you don't know about. So if you earn origination, you might not know a lot about servicing, for example. There's also, I'll tell you about an executive CMB path for those people that really like to get places in a hurry. You could take that if you meet certain requirements, such as you're a senior level executive within your firm, you have 10 plus years of experience. It's more of a streamlined path, but you also need to complete the MBA's prep course.
Yeah, that's great. And you mentioned, so you have the point system, and I know the MBA helps, assess the points and where you're at, but the written exam, it's a 6-part exam. Can you talk a little bit more about what that entails?
So the written exam, the 6 parts, draw upon all the aspects of mortgage banking, as I mentioned my 360 there. So the origination, underwriting process, secondary marketing, investor relations, servicing, legal aspects, and then the final is sort of a capstone, comprehensive exam. In 6 parts, roughly, an hour each, basically, if you want to divide up your time that way. And it is done, you could do it via the computer with Proctor. We did have some challenges over COVID last year and into this year where we had some virtual proctoring being done, but it's very doable, very achievable. The subjects are those that everyone is familiar with if they're in mortgage banking. And the key, as I've mentioned previously, is to find a sponsor to complement what you know. So you could draw upon their expertise, you can ask questions, and you can learn from that sponsor.
Yeah. So once you pass the written and you've passed all of those sections, you then move on to the oral exam. What can CMB candidates expect from an oral exam for the CMB?
Well, we put you in this gigantic room and no, really, really, it's three CMBs usually, and the CMB candidate, and we ask several questions that are out in the industry right now. Topics that are out in the MBA news link or on the MBA website as topics that the MBA is supporting or is reporting information on and has an opinion on. They're industry issues that are very valuable for all of us to know and to participate in the discussion. So we have a conversation with you. It's usually about an hour. We ask you these questions. And one of the most important questions, I think, is why do you want to be a CMB? You really have to know why you want to be it. Why do you want to go through this process? There's so many things going on in your life and so many priorities. You have to understand why that is and be able to tell us in the panel.
So, Madeline, why is it that you decided to become a CMB?
My goodness. Well, I would say that I am very much a mortgage banking nerd, and I do value education and I love to learn. And the CMB was known to me as a 24-year-old in the business, just starting out in this business. And I went through all the classes and I made some lifelong friends at the School of Mortgage Banking. But the designation was important to me as it really distinguishes you as someone who really cares about their industry and its future. And the more important question is, how will you use your CMB? How will you make that difference? And so many people that I have met in this process have really just had some very interesting answers to that question and how they would give back and how maybe they'll create a study group within their company or do some marketing or maybe do some podcasts like you.
Yeah, I again, I appreciate you so much coming on as a guest. This was this is absolutely my way of giving back, is trying to create more exposure about the CMB program and what the journey is like, going through it. I have my story. Everyone that I've talked to that has a CMB designation has their own story, and many of which were posted on LinkedIn not too long ago, as they were sharing why they went through the journey. What was your journey like? I mean, you mentioned that you learned about it, early on, and kind of why, but what was it like? Did you go through the School of Mortgage Banking, 1, 2, and 3? How long did it take you? Did you feel your strengths were when you entered? And what did you gain, leading up to actually taking the exam?
Well, I did go through all three of the School of Mortgage Banking, and at that time, all of them were on site. And the third one was at Northwestern University, and we got to go to the Board of Trade. It was really exciting. I made lifelong friends I still talk to. I have a picture of all of us that graduated and holding our plaques because we graduated the School of Mortgage Banking. I learned a lot. And in between each of the school sessions, you had like 10 different homework assignments, written assignments that were graded, and you had to send them back. And so it was quite a commitment. But I realized at the time that I was so early into my mortgage banking career. I guess you don't know what you don't know. And they do recommend that you spend at least 7 to 10 years in the industry before you take the written and the oral exams. So in addition to that timeline, I also had 3 little children at the time, and it made it really difficult. So my CMB journey had some anxiety already built into it. And I was new at the time at my job at the bank-owned mortgage company. I had my little ones. I was trying to study in my spare time. And so I just decided I'll wait a few years. And then I became a consultant. And then the thought that was running around in my anxiety ridden head was, wait a minute, you're a consultant. If you fail this exam, who's going to hire you? So I was trying to put it aside for a little bit. Then I was at an MBA conference and ran into an old friend and colleague. And she said, for gosh sakes, take it already. You'll do great. You do all this stuff. Stop worrying about the exam. And so I created a study binder and I carried around with everywhere. And as I was consulting and traveling and on planes, I'd pull it out and study. And then my sponsor at the time was Dan Brendis, who was in commercial mortgage banking, because back in that Stone Age time period, you had to pass both the residential and the commercial side to get your CMB. So Dan was on the commercial side. I didn't know a whole lot about it, and he helped me learn about it. I could bounce my studying questions off Dan, and it really complemented. I knew about the secondary side on the residential. He knew about the secondary side on the commercial. And wouldn't you know, in my oral exam, the first question was, "Well, we're in the MBA building. Tell me how you'd value it." I'm like, well, I know I got this. And that was because of Dan. So I really do appreciate his time and his counsel helping me.
Yeah, you mentioned that everyone gives back in a certain way, and you just finished your chairwomanship as head of the CMB Society during a very challenging time. So what were some of the challenges? I mean, it was during the pandemic, so we obviously had that to deal with, but what were some of the challenges, not only for your leadership, but also for the candidates, going through the program at the time?
Yes, it was, we did have to pivot quite a bit in order to come up with some new ideas and accommodate as best we could during a crisis. It was just really amazing how everyone stepped up to the occasion, not only the candidates, but also my team last year, Seth Sprague and Sushila Dillon. Really, they were highly involved, highly motivated, and available during one of the highest refi and purchase market booms of all time. We had to pivot very early on, and we created these Zoom oral exams. And although it was probably a little stressful for the candidate because you're just staring into a screen while you're taking a very important exam, we were able to make it work. We did not have our usual social committees or fun committees last year. We used to have all these fun outings and happy hours and Amazing Race, but we did have some Zoom happy hours. We had our quarterly CMB calls. We highlighted topical speakers. We provided updates. And all through the years, it seemed like years, all through the year, we were making updates and changes to the exams. The MBA conference was virtual, but we also made a virtual graduation. We had a CMB committee. And also close to the end of the year, Sushila and her team of volunteers developed a little mini prep course in the fall to help those CMBs that weren't able to obtain their CMB despite meeting all the requirements. They just sort of ran out of time. So she pulled together a lot of resources to assist these candidates in their final studying hours. It really made a difference. I'm proud that we had so many graduates in such a crazy year. Amber was amazing. She pulled everything together. She was there for everyone, all the candidates that were stressed out about taking their exams, and supported the team, the leadership team. She was just amazing. But I was trying to focus on bringing in additional CMBs. I had a number I was trying to achieve. We got very close to it. And we were just trying to get more people to graduate and go through the process. We updated the exams continually throughout the year. We had as much marketing as we could do on LinkedIn and other ways of promoting the CMB. We also had a little campaign that I was proud of. It didn't get a lot of traction. Maybe we can kick it back up again. I called it the ARC campaign, which is an act of random kindness. So you could highlight and share your work in the community. And then, as you'd mentioned, we did a little "What did you do with your CMB" campaign on LinkedIn. So I hope all the CMBs out there can continue to share their stories in whatever venue they possibly can, and continue to promote the CMB and tell their stories.
And that's one thing we want to do with this show is we want to highlight CMBs. We want to highlight their journey. We want to let others know that are considering the CMB. We want them to understand what the process is like and what it's like on the other side, because it is a pretty elite group that you're joining of people who are very passionate about giving back and helping one another. So I really do hope that we have success with this show and accomplishing that mission. But what advice would you give to those who are considering becoming a CMB and going through the program?
Well, I would say just go for it. Really, just set it aside, mark your calendar, set a plan. You hear a lot of humble people saying, if Frank could get his CMB, then anyone can. And Frank, you know who you are. So um, I think it's very worthwhile. It really allows you to grow and learn. It's really something to be part of something bigger in your industry, to participate and volunteer for all the good in the mortgage community. There's really no downsides to it. I mean, I encourage everyone to look at the process. The odds are you have the 150 points already. You need to do your application, you need to pick your sponsor, and then you could just hit the ground running. MBA also has lots of support for you, prep courses twice a year to help focus you on your study topics. There's so much support in the community. Really, all you have to do is ask a CMB for help, and we'll get you there.
And I got to say, when you were speaking about, so Sheila, for one, stepping up and really helping during this time of pivoting and creating a mini CMB prep course, I do feel that I have my CMB designation today because of her. I received a phone call from her saying, we've identified you as one who you have the points, you are qualified to take the exam. And, for some reason, you just haven't gone through. And it was the pandemic. I was busier than I've ever been before. While everything else is changing, it was her phone call and her putting together the mini CMB prep course that really got me thinking, you know what? If not now, when? Let's go. And that prep course helped me a tremendous amount and helped me gain the confidence to actually sit down and take the exam. And I was one that the oral exam was done via Zoom. Mm-hmm. Trust me, it's nerve-wracking as all heck via Zoom, as I'm sure it was in person. But it was, I'm very thankful to her for doing that. And thank you for pivoting and still allowing candidates to go through the program at a time when we weren't able to be all together.
Of course. Well, hopefully, cheers to 2021. I'm hoping we all get there in person.
Yes.
Go to San Diego. I really do.
Yeah, I'm really hoping for San Diego in person. I'm very optimistic about it. So, well, thank you very much. That's what we have for today, and I appreciate you joining as a guest and telling us more about yourself and the CMB program. For anyone who's interested in the CMB, please feel free to reach out to myself or the MBA directly. Amber Lawrence is a fantastic resource and would love to get you more information about the CMB program. Thank you very much.
Thank you.